Hello, 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 hello. Hi, everybody. I am Tarina Ali. I am the founder of Tarina Ali Therapeutic Services, and it's always so good to come on live just to talk and to give some tidbits and nuggets. And you say, well, who is Tarina Ali and what is Tarina Ali Therapeutic Services? Well, basically, I provide a lot of social service activities and events. I'm a counselor, I'm a minister, I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and my ultimate goal is to help women move from the emotional pain that they have to reach their purpose. And excuse me if I'm talking a little funny, I just left the dentist and this Novocaine is wearing off, so bear with me, but I definitely wanted to make sure you got this information on today. So I was driving from where I was going coming from the dentist's office. It's around in the area, not too far from where I grew up. And something that I wanted to share with you all, some nuggets that I want you all to know, to help you just live better lives every single day. There's a thing such as memories, right? And so our brain holds all kinds of information, and we wonder why we remember certain things, and that certain things cause us emotional responses or pain when we have these memories. And it would be great if our mind discarded every single thing, but it doesn't. Our brain holds stuff from years and years and years, and at certain points that stuff is ignited, and a lot of people don't know how to handle those memories, and they find ways, unhealthy ways, to cope with them. And so I'm all for giving messages of inspiration and hope and tips to help you get over some of those hurdles. And so I'm going to give you a real life example. So I'm driving alone and on this road, and it was a road that my late sister used to be in that particular area. And I noticed that every time I go around the area where I used to grow up, where my family still lives, and where my sister, who's now deceased, those memories of her come back every time I go in that area. And for a while, I stopped going around because those memories just kept coming and coming, and I began to think of my sister. And I'm not definitely embarrassed to share. My sister struggled with substance abuse. She struggled with that pretty much all her life. And unfortunately, she succumbed to the disease of addiction. And during her addiction, we know that sometimes addictions have people, and women in particular, in this instance that I'm talking about, have them to compromise their bodies in a certain way in order to maintain that habit. And so my sister used to be involved in prostitution to support her habit. And I know that is not something that she wanted to do. And this story is similar to so many others in the families. But I'm sharing this to say that the road that sometimes I used to see my sister on, and I would see her and I would blow the horn. I'm like, go in the house, girl. You don't need to be out here. Because for one thing, I am never embarrassed about things that are in my past or in my family's past. It is what it is. Every family has something, but I'm sharing to hopefully you guys can pick up from the nuggets of what I'm saying, from what I'm saying. And so the emotional trigger that came, and I began to cry because, for one, I do miss my sister. It'll be I believe 3 years coming up in January that my oldest sister has passed, and I miss my sister. I talk to my husband about her all the time, but especially when I go back around in that neighborhood, more of the thoughts are just so prevalent. And so we have triggers that come in all of our senses, and all of your senses. Excuse me once again, I went to the dentist and this Novocaine is wearing off, so bear with me. But I wanted to share this. And so driving, it was a visual trigger because like I said, I saw that street that I would sometimes see her on, and tears began to flow. But I know how to deal with those emotions, and grief can come in waves. And unfortunately, sometimes people have not developed those skill sets to be able to cope with some of those painful emotions, in particular about grief. And what we find that sometimes people turn to unhealthy ways of coping. Overeating could be one. People turn to mood altering chemicals, prescription drugs. So people will find a way to cope. But the key is to learn to use all of your internal senses to help you deal with all your emotional pain. It has to start within ourselves, and sometimes memories can be so prevalent and can be so strong, and that they really can jar you. And all memories, of course, aren't bad. There are some memories that you have that were joyous, that you think about when you were in college and you was 24, 36, 26. Ain't that how the song go? But anyway, and you remember your college days, and you remember, the fun you had. You remember the boyfriend that you had, or, the girlfriend that you had. So it's not always bad. And some emotional memories, visual things, bring us happy memories. But we're talking about those painful ones that sometimes we have challenges getting through. And a lot of times people don't have those conversations because they want to be super strong or feel as if that they can conquer or handle everything. And some people entreat within, they go within. What I'm trying to say, sometimes people go within and they shut down. And I used to do that. I could be riding in the area and my mood would change. And my husband used to say, well, what's wrong? Because he knew that I was shut down and I stopped talking. Because that grief and that emotional pain came up again from just that visual trigger. And it can happen being triggered by seeing some things. I know some people, say for example, if they run into their abuser again, if they see their abuser, all those memories can come back up because our brain stores everything. And yes, sometimes we're good at suppressing stuff. We pack it down. But suppression doesn't mean it's gone away. That stuff is still there. And so I wanted to share with you all some ways that you can handle when these feelings and emotions come over you, because sometimes it can come over you and it can take over. Some people get anxiety attacks. Some people start panting. Some people start sweating. I've heard that people literally felt like they just needed to jump out of their car. Some people cry so heavily because it jars them and it shakes them. And it's so important to have real conversations. I shared earlier on social how I'm not embarrassed to talk about certain things. And that for me, if I talk, that's where I get my healing. I am definitely an advocate of therapy and support systems. Everybody may not go to therapy, but please have some people that you can talk to. Do you know a lot of people don't even talk to their mates about what they're feeling inside? And this is the person that's supposed to be the closest to you. You have sexual intimacy with this person, but sometimes that people still don't share their innermost feelings. But we'll have sex with people, but we won't talk to them about how we feel. And men, this is a whole nother conversation that we will start talking about men and how men cope. To the point where you go to funerals and it's appropriate to cry at a funeral, but people become so stoic and they're like, they want to hold all this in. And I wish we dispel this stuff that when people pass and when people die and say, I have to be strong. For who? If someone you love cried, it's okay to cry. That is an appropriate emotion. I would look at you a little odd if, someone that you love passed away and then you're sitting there laughing up a storm. Y'all remember The Color Purple when Oprah Winfrey, I forget her name, she was sitting at that table and she was quiet and she was rocking like this, and all of a sudden she started laughing You know, we ain't talk about nothing like that. You know, but we got to be real with ourselves, and we have to be able to be honest and have those real dialogues to say sometimes those visual triggers come back. You know, some people have trauma, say for example, from being shot or shot at in the presence of a gun. It brings those memories back again. And so it could be a song you heard today. I'm talking about the visual things that I'm sharing for those who are just hopping on. That I was in the area where my sister used to hang out. And when I hang out, where she used to honestly prostitute in that area. And it brought back those memories because now my sister is deceased. Now, was I driving there thinking that, hey, these memories are going to come back? But it happens. And if we can't be honest